Charles, I really get disappointed when we're not able to walk around on nice weather days, but we've got the biggest Canadian smoke show since Pamela Anderson landed on us last night. And it's not as bad this morning as it was last night, but it still smells a little bit like a campfire outside.
It's really bad. I mean, the only time I've been in worse conditions was back in, I think, 2011 or it might have been 11, whenever it was that there were the big Russian forest fires.
I don't remember that.
Well, I remember it because it was the only time I ever went to Donetsk in Ukraine. Oh. And while Donetsk then, pre-war destruction, was really glorious, actually, where I was staying. I came out in the hotel just to walk around the morning after the evening when I arrived, and I almost just went right back inside.
Really?
It was because it was this. But it was 100 degrees, air temperature. And so you have this and 100, and it's impossible.
It's pretty bad, though.
I suppose this is all because of global warming, right?
I thought it was some forest fire.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a hell of a forest fire. Yesterday, it was really bad. It literally smelled like I was standing next to a campfire.
Yeah.
This person, Charles, I don't know what she's doing with the forest fire, but she is saying that Oprah Winfrey and who's that supermodel with the TV show, that they were helping Harvey Weinstein entrap this woman to be raped by him.
Is that right?
That's what she says.
I mean, I don't know Hollywood at all. You know it. You knew it a lot, I suppose, and maybe you've kept up with some of the friends. But I mean, I got to believe that the depravity in that industry, you've got,
it's pretty depraved.
And it's not going to change. I mean, if you could take, at the margin, I suppose there is a difference between a superb actor and everybody else.
Yeah.
But when you take, let's say, the 10 superb actors out of the mix, you got everybody else. And so you could take, you could take this person, you could take Jill Biden, and you could pretend that she's, I don't know, a gifted actress, if she'll do whatever you want, it's just...
You're joking, of course, but I agree completely. There is a very small number of talented craftspeople who are masters of the art of acting, and then a lot of people who look good and can talk, who figure they can be actors. But this is, I think, true in every single field. Most of the stereoscopic experts that I've met are morons who don't know what they're doing. Most of the lawyers I've met are morons who don't know what they're doing.
Well, there's a bottom half of every class, as people always used to say to me, and those people work. Most of them are in Congress. They're in Congress, they're at the CDC, they're the White House, unfortunately, and state capitals around the country and equivalents around the world.
Yeah. We should let everybody know, Charles, that even though YouTube is luring us into whatever the next cyber trap they have planned by telling us, oh yeah, you can talk about how Joe Biden stole the election in 2020, I'm actually writing the Twitter coup chapter 2, which is going to focus on how the team of Adam Sharp, Barack Obama, and all of the other people that they inserted into Twitter that allowed the FBI and all of these government agencies to manipulate the flow of ideas and free speech. I'm going to be focusing on how, once they gained that control, they used it, obviously, to manipulate the 2020 election. And we're going to be talking in the First Amendment Forum in just about 25 minutes. People will be able to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on, well, more than a little bit. The FBI, the cover-ups with information that they knew about Joe Biden. All of this is coming out now. This is all stuff that's in my lawsuits and that we've been talking about for years.
Right. And we'll talk about this, as you say, in the First Amendment Forum, but the analysis that some would say, some would say is settled, becomes unsettled now with all these new revelations. Back in 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 and 20 and 21, et cetera, the expert narrative on what had really transpired in 17 was heavily influenced by the suppression. And frankly, the purveyance of manifestly false information that was in quotes, verified by the mainstream legacy press. I mean, so we really got to go re-examine history, not just back to 16,
Yeah.
going way back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for a long time, Charles, I have been saying that fake news becomes fake history. It's amazing. I saw RFK Jr. Oh, yeah, he was on Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing.
Is that right?
Do you know that podcast?
I don't, but was he like boxing? Or?
Well, no. I mean, it's a play on words because hot boxing is when you like are in high school or any age and hang out in your car in the parking lot smoking a joint.
Oh, okay.
That's hot boxing.
All right.
But it's a play on words given that Mike Tyson is one of the greatest boxers of all time. But it's just a podcast. I don't think RFK was smoking any weed. I didn't witness that. But he was talking about the assassination of his father in tremendous detail.
Wow.
And he acknowledged that Eugene Cesar, whatever the guy's name is, RFK, agrees that that's the guy who killed his father. Weird static. That's the guy who killed his father. And that Sirhan was 5 to 10 feet away. He cites the, I think Yamaguchi or something was the name of the coroner. He cites the official coroner's report. RFK knows a lot of stuff. And today, somebody mainstream reported that the White House is rightly scared.
Well, I think if this were going to be a legitimate election in 2024, if it were, you could run, in the primaries, you could run RFK pre-giving up drugs. So he's on drugs. And he would crush Biden in a legitimate set of primaries. I mean, Biden, it's absurd the degree to which the crutches that are put around this guy. I mean, he can't do anything.
No.
Right? He can't get anything right. And when he retreats in defensive mode into Angry Man Joe, that is just not attractive. It's like the guys now around the city, for people who haven't been here recently, please don't come here. It's very dangerous. But now around the city, you have many, many angry bums. You're probably emulating Joe Biden. Say, Joe's the president. He can do this. He's got money, 2 mansions. I'll play Angry Man Joe. I'll go around yelling and screaming, and maybe people will give me money. I mean, I think I don't have a scintilla of interest in Joe Biden. I mean, I think he's an inveterate crook who should have been put in jail a long time ago, who never legitimately accomplished anything, as far as I can tell. But to see an 80-year-old man, it's not like this happened in his backyard where he's putting a shrimp on the Barbie or something. I mean, this is in front of...
Don't let him near the barbecue grill,
Right.
please.
I mean, look at this guy.
How do you like the color of his suit?
Captain Kangaroo Blue.
Yeah, I
mean,
knew
it's
you'd
just,
like it.
I don't like the aviators. I don't like the hat. I don't like his message. And above all, I don't like what's happening to the country. I mean,
But aside from that, Mrs. Lincoln.
Right. I mean, back in, I tried to do my best to get on Obama's shit list when he was president, joking a bit, but
I think it worked.
It probably did. But I was then I was going on and on about GE, and I was doing a lot of TV and mainstream TV, and I think I've told you this before, but maybe the audience doesn't know this, that I was the first person to call for Timothy Geithner to be fired. This was after a month on the job.
Now do Christopher Wray.
Well, and then I got to CNBC. I remember it was May 15th, 2009. I was in London, CNBC in the green room, and about to go talk about GE and different things. And I saw the guy who has since gotten bounced off TV, Mark Faber, who's a very, gloom and doom guy. And I walked up to him and I said, "Oh, Dr. Faber, I love you, but I've only got one problem with you." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "You're too much of an optimist." And with that, he roared with laughter. And then, they took him to go out on the set. They took the vice chairman of Credit Suisse out on the set. And I was just hanging around thinking I was going on another show. And they said, "No, you're supposed to be on the show." So I go on the show, and Faber says something like, "Charles, you've been very sharply critical of the Obama administration. Why is that?"
They suck.
Well, I said, because it's waging a war on capitalism. That's what I said that May 15th, 2009.
Wow.
And from London. And I then started repeating it. And Joe Biden, he doesn't know where he is. He's like,
Yeah.
the major in Faulty Towers at the bar. I mean, he has no clue what he's doing.
It's waging a war on sentience.
Right, exactly, on common sense.
Yeah.
But the steps that he's taking, following what happened under the Obama-Biden administration, are steps that long-term investors whose families have been investing for a long time, who know how dangerous it is when a big market like the United States just goes from being a law and order to no law, all chaos. Right. And cronies like the Biden family and the Obama family and the Clinton family, who knows, maybe the Ray family, other families, get drawn like moths to flames to this notion that you do very little in government, but you can steal a hell of a lot of money and everybody will give you book deals and whatever, and that sounds pretty good compared to having actually to work if you've got no morals.
Exactly.
And this is a scary moment when I think about the degree to which we said, no borders, that's fine. Open southern border. Let's have a Department of Homeland Security. Let's spend billions of dollars per year, but open up our borders as one of the richest countries on earth to let a flood of people in, many of whom are likely inveterate criminals, who it's not surprising to me that somebody who would live in 50%, the bottom half of the global economy, where life is pitiful, where there's no economic opportunity. Am I surprised that people there would do anything they could to break our laws and come into this country? No, of course, it's natural. That's why you need a border.
Don't you have a spare room, Charles? You could lead a plant-based life.
Yeah, that
and
guy.
the mayor's going to give you $120 to rent your room to a possible killer.
Well, I mean, going around my apartment building, any your apartment building, any home I've ever owned, did I just leave my front door open and my back door open and my windows open and say, come on in, I've got an art collection for you?
Right.
It's ridiculous. And we shouldn't even have to debate this.
There's another part to it, though, because I'm sure you saw that they announced, I actually wanted to, if it wasn't a smoke screen outside, I wanted to go up to the Bronx and hit up the crack pipe vending machine, but it sold out the first day.
That's a good sign.
Well, obviously. I mean, it's so crazy, like giving out crack pipes. How do they expect that to reduce crime?
Well, I mean, look, you've got a crackhead as the smartest person advising the president, right? We're going to get into this in the First Amendment Forum. But the professors at these brand name universities are on crack. They're whack and on crack.
Are you being serious? Nobody's on crack. You'd know if somebody's on crack.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. There are examples, I mean, in the summer or the vacations, you don't know what they're doing at night.
But you're saying there's functional, like whenever, I don't know, I have very little firsthand experience with anybody doing crack. And I mean, I don't know. I always thought if you do crack, you're just immediately addicted to it and you're like Hunter Biden, your teeth fall out and you just look like obviously something's going on.
Crack or other drugs, other drugs. But I mean, there is this statistic that I've seen quoted not just by members of my family, that an estimate is that roughly 30% of all peer-reviewed scientific papers are utter garbage. They're just wrong. Seriously, there are people sitting around smoking dope and say, well, we got that one over. Let's 8 of us come on over. You bring the pizza, you bring the marijuana, you bring the LSD. Let's write something in gibberish and see if we can put it into Lancet. And, they have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
Most published stuff is crap.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be...
This is the POS medicine site.
PLOS.
But POS would be the piece of shit.
Yeah, and this is old. This is old news, 18 years ago.
I mean, this is crazy.
And that's why there needs to be, I mean, a root and branch restructuring of this country, starting with education. I mean, Dr. Jill Biden's got an honorary PhD or maybe a real PhD in education. She's a moron, right? And most of these people who in quotes teach, they're not teaching anymore. They're indoctrinating.
Yeah,
they have a point of view, and Bloomberg-esque. There's only one answer. And let's not waste time on alternative theories. This is the answer. You should only have 20 ounces of soda per day, or whatever they think. You should only do this. That's, answers that are, where are they going?
Jill Biden is going to be making 2 stops in North Carolina to visit. They changed Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty, but I think Putin made some kind of speech where he's saying like changing history and denying history. He is right.
He's absolutely right. You have to history. I mean, in part because I was going to major in history, and I had an unfortunate experience in my first freshman class in history. I just couldn't follow the way they were teaching, and I just this isn't for me. But after I retired in 2002, I said, you know what? I don't know enough history, so let me just independently try to study works of history. And I came to the conclusion that much of the history that's written, with important exceptions, after 1970 about
totally
the
false.
Is total bullshit.
Yeah.
It's garbage. And there are exceptions. There are rare exceptions. There tend to be. What's this?
It's your tweet about getting 1% from Mike Pence will be. There's just no way.
Well, yeah. Here I want to discuss some breaking news. So last night, with nothing better to do, I got pulled into Chris Christie's announcement, and I mean,
I thought you were going to say something else.
No, and I have to say, it was the most conclusive and effective argument against Chris Christie was made by that guy. I mean, he got up there, and obviously he doesn't listen to anybody. But the theme, and he thought he was doing a master class. In fact, it was an Astor class. I mean, he got up there and he kept on talking about when the going gets tough, Americans don't choose small, they choose big. And it's like, that's obvious in your case. I mean, when the choice comes to have 1 cheeseburger, I won't have a slider. I'm going to have, 500 Whoppers. I mean, it was ridiculous. And this is a guy whose record in politics, I would argue, is atrocious.
You're right.
Right? I mean, he was a DA or prosecutor or whatever he was. Okay, that's great. There are 93 U.S. attorneys. There are many state and local prosecutors. That's fantastic. But when he was governor,
the bridge,
and he persecuted his enemies. The picture of him at the beach, as a beached whale. I mean, I just don't. Nobody wants to be governated by Chris Christie.
No.
Now, and he's out there, just pontificating and attacking Donald Trump. I mean, back in 2012, one of the reasons I don't like this guy, other than, I'm no expert on dressing, but you'll never see me in that kind of an outfit.
Definitely no.
This is, ridiculous.
He needs a phalloplasty here, Charles.
God almighty.
Yeah. I don't know who told him to wear that.
But I don't know if you remember back in 2012, when Romney was being nominated at the Republican convention, it fell to Christie to give the number one important speech to nominate Mitt Romney. And the speech was all about Chris Christie. Stupid. It was disgusting. It talked about his father and his mother and his wife. It went on and on and on, so he must have been eaten right before the speech. But this guy is, he's a fake Republican as far as I can tell. I mean, he's missed. Romney called Christie a hero. Yeah, right.
Have we ever had a president from New Jersey?
I don't know. Not in my lifetime, I don't think.
Yeah, there's
Trump.
a reason for that. Trump. He's not from New Jersey. He's from New York. He moved to New Jersey probably to save taxes.
Well, actually, he moved to New Jersey to buy my former business partner's grandfather's house, which is the Bedminster Club.
Oh, well, but he bought that before he moved there. He just wanted a golf course.
No, he spends the summer up there, and he spends the winter down in Florida.
Anyway, Chris Christie is not going to become the president. He's a moron.
And all of these, what's amazing, though, is when you...
Grover Cleveland is from New Jersey.
Oh, really? How did he do?
I don't know.
He also wasn't Grover Cleveland a large individual? I think you could look that up. Or is that William Howard Taft? William Howard Taft was gigantic. I don't know about Grover.
I think they had to bury him in a piano case, which, what the hell are you making a case for?
Yeah, he
a
also
piano?
was pretty large.
Well, not Chris Christie. Although, yeah, he is kind of Chris Christie size.
Grover.
Corpulent, you might say, Charles. Caldwell, New Jersey. Yeah, well, I don't know. Didn't Thomas Edison do a bunch of stuff in Caldwell, New Jersey?
Perhaps, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know my New Jersey history well enough. New Jersey is the second state that I lived in.
Wow, I didn't know
In
that.
Summit, New Jersey.
Now, Charles, I know you are eagerly awaiting the Apple Vision Pro, and you're going to walk around with ski goggles
That's
when
a
you are
hard no.
not.
That's a hard no. But don't we want to finish the field a little bit?
Absolutely. I just, exercising the ADD, and I'm certain you will never wear a device like that.
You get that check. But just quickly going through the field, I mean, we have, maybe this guy's fantastic, but the governor of North Dakota enters the race. It's like big whoop, right?
No one
and
cares
all
about
these,
that.
Nikki Haley, she's just a lightweight compared to Trump. And they're all, apparently John Sununu, or whatever his name is, Chris Sununu, just got up and started yelling about, we got to get rid of Trump. We need an alternative to Trump. No, Chris. I mean, your father and you were probably involved getting the $100 million together for Yeb in 2015-16. That was ridiculous. Yeb is ridiculous. And the Bush wing of the Republican Party is dead. I mean, it's not going to be in power ever again.
Well, they're pushing hard for Ron DeSantis and doing a lot of stuff with Elon Musk. I do think that RFK represents a Ross Perot-like challenge to all candidates, because there's going to be Trump voters who like Robert Kennedy Jr. and Democrat voters who like Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm showing this unfavorable article about him because, unfortunately, I do agree. He was a little bit sycophantic on the Twitter Spaces with his praise of Elon Musk, not all of which I agreed with,
right.
But...
Well, you see, the other thing I would say is in the mainstream media, and this is just my opinion, and I could well be wrong, the mainstream media has grown too comfortable with the idea that there are only two points of view,
right.
Republican and Democrat.
Theirs and the wrong one.
Right. But Republicans and Democrats. And increasingly, people like me, and I think people like you, have rejected the party we each grew up in. I mean, I grew up in the Republican Party, and I just don't have any time for the party. Especially, I went through that book on the big break on CPAC and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what we've gone through here...
Boring. I started.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's... but we've been through a long period where in media, if it wasn't in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, it really didn't matter. And in politics, if you're not a Republican...
Didn't happen.
Right.
If it wasn't in those things.
Right. And then in politics, if you're not a Democrat or a Republican and a dues-paying suck-up in both parties, then you're never going to run for office and get elected. So that's over. That it's a very different world now. And I think the idea that both Biden and Trump would flirt initially, and Biden's still flirting with the idea that he doesn't even have to debate people like Kennedy, that's really not going to go over well. It'd be one thing if this were Cicero, right? Marcus Tullius Cicero, if Biden were that. I mean, he's silly-o. I mean, he's ridiculous. He can't even read off a teleprompter at this point. I mean, he doesn't.
Silly Biden.
That's right. You silly man. And then he was out golfing.
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
I saw that. But people were speculating that wasn't him because he seems remarkably energetic on the golf course.
Well, you remember that. You must remember, for me, I don't have a photographic memory, but there's one movie that stands out above all. I mean, there's no reason to even, it never got an Oscar. Caddyshack. Yeah. But the shot when they're on, the old couple's on the golf course and the wife hits the ball and the guy, her husband can't see where the ball is. He's looking in the wrong direction. He goes, "That's a peach, hon." It hasn't even, that's this team here.
Yeah.
And
here he is.
I mean, he should be, I don't know what you do at his, he should be going, he says he's a devout Catholic. He should go to his local priest and start confessing. It would take much more than a Sunday to go through all the sins that this guy has committed and is trying to cover up.
I can't believe he's playing golf. There have been many times in my life that I've been involved in projects where not only did I not, it's like, oh, well, he works really hard. He needs a break. When I've been on the most difficult projects in my life, there have been times that I just haven't been able to take a break for sometimes more than a year. This is outrageous for him to be blowing up dams and pipelines, and then he was like, oh, let's hit the links.
Well, he clearly thinks he's going to get away with it.
Now, Charles, we're just about out of time here. People are going to be able to join us in about 5 minutes on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I had wanted to go outside, but it's just too smoky and respiratory, whatever. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Stay with us. Become a sponsor if you aren't already, and you're going to hear a lot of great stuff on the sponsor exclusive segment. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.